Breaking news. Tainted Pact has been banned in Historic. Watsy hates fun and won't let you do the broken thing. What's that? You can still do the broken thing in Legacy? Ooh. No, we don't want that one. We want this one. Hey folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another direct to YouTube special. This one brought to you by Haimoo5, who donated to see a Tainted Pact deck in action in Legacy. Now, if you're not familiar with this card, you exile the top card of your library. You can put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. And you repeat that process until you put a card into your hand or you exile two cards with the same name. Now, if you build your deck with all singletons, that means that this is just a tutor for the exact card that you would want to put in your hand. Now, the only thing that you can play two of is Tainted Pact, alright? So if you cast a Tainted Pact, there's only one Tainted Pact remaining in your deck, so you still get to go and find the exact card that you're looking for. So how are we going to win using this strategy? Well, the idea is that we just play a bunch of cards that are redundant and have the same name. So let's move this sideboard out of the way for a second, and I'll show you what I mean. We need cantrips to string this together. So we can do like Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, Abundant Harvest, and then we go a little bit deeper into things like Omen of the Sea, Lot Nam's Legacy. We need some like disruption. And so we have things like Fluster, Spell Snare, Stifle, Push, Vendetta. You might have had to, Google that one. Like we have some discard. So we maybe can't react consistently in the same way every game. But because our deck has a lot of redundancy, despite the cards having different names, we should be able to execute a game plan. Now, what that game plan looks like is going to be very different from game to game and hopefully very amusing. And my brain might melt trying to figure out what I'm supposed to Tainted Pact for. But that's probably what you're here for by now. So in terms of winning, there's a couple of things we can do. We can use a Tainted Pact and name a card that is not in our deck, like say a Solemn Simulacrum or something, and we can use that to empty our library, and then we can win with Thassa's Oracle. So that's cool. We can assemble Witherbloom Apprentice plus Chain of Smug and go infinite that way. We can effectively win the game by doing something like Hull Breacher plus Days Undoing, where I just draw 7 and empty my opponent's hand and make 7 treasures, and then I can just play out the traditional control role. Or we can just like win with a traditional like bug sort of in bug style with like Uro, Jace, Leovold, that sort of stuff. As far as particulars of the deck list, I was shipped a list. I made very small changes. Like I think I changed 2 cards. I think the original list didn't have Thoughtseize and IOK, and I subbed out 2 cards for those. But otherwise, I haven't touched this. This is one of those times where, like, if you want to dig into the YouTube comments and say, hey, this card probably should have been in here, this is a time where that sort of thing is very much appreciated, because when you're playing a single to deck, like, you've got room for changes. Speaking of room for changes, we also do have a sideboard. Part of the idea of the sideboard was to have this like one of crop rotation that could find really annoying cards for certain matchups. So for example, you've got Bojuka Bog for the graveyard, Karakas for things like Reanimator, Field of the Dead for slow blue matchups, and the spicy Cephalid Coliseum. Now, this says target player draws 3 cards. We have a Notion Thief as well as a Hull Breacher in this deck, so that can be sort of an ancestral in a weird sort of way off a crop rotation. Otherwise, we have normal bug sort of stuff in the sideboard here. All right, I have no idea how this league is going to go, but last time we played Tainted Pact, I think we either 3-2'd or 4-1'd. Like it went pretty well. This is a pile of mostly commonly played legacy cards here, so we should expect to play reasonable games of Magic. only a few of the things are a little bit sketch, and even those have seen legacy play from time to time. Like Omen of the Sea very rarely sees play in some sort of Yorion deck, and Latnam's Legacy, well, maybe hasn't seen play recently, but it's not like egregious or anything like that. Anyway, consider throwing me a like before the video gets started. That sort of thing helps me out a lot. I'm thinking about setting some sort of like goal where if I hit it, I move up to doing content like 6 days a week. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. All right, let's battle. Okay, the first thing I need to do is admit a mistake. All right. So I looked at this land and I thought it was a fetch land. I did not think this was an overgrown tomb, so I kept this assuming that I had access to blue mana. This hand is garbage. And hopefully we draw out of it. That's that's what happens. I'm just so used to anything that looks like this being Verdant Catacombs, and this is very much not Verdant Catacombs. So I'm a keel over and die for not having blue mana. Like the hand was a little sketch anyway when I thought that was Verdant Catacombs. All right. Oh, so we die? Yeah. Maybe my opponent won't have the mana to activate it. Lol, JK. Yep. We'll just confirm that they have the kill. And we'll move on to game 2. Alright. There's enough Narcomoebas. There's the Dread Return. The Thassa's Oracle is in hand, but they can Cabal Therapy themselves. Okay. I can concede there. That's fine. Alright, what do we have for Oops All spells? Not a lot. My opponent's playing Bridge, so it's not like Plague Engineer, just a slam dunk. I think I'm gonna play a bunch of things that are like and sideboard out a bunch of things that are like Good enough? Probably good enough, but barely. I can board in these things and now like play this game of like, what do I actually board out? Eliminate's not really great. This feels too slow. This feels too slow. Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay are kinda Days Undoing is probably too spooky. Don't need Toxic Deluge. I probably think harder about this sideboarding, but I think this is probably fine. This is okay. I think I lead on I okay. And then we get... There's an argument to fetch right now. I don't think I'm going to do that. But it can make my Ponder better next turn if I end up drawing a second fetch land. Oh man, my opponent has 2 business spells, I guess I want to call them. My opponent has 3 mana right now, so they can't blue Strahd's Buy yet. I think that just means I go ahead and take the Undercity Informer. But this is definitely the danger zone. have so many one-ofs. It's not like I'm looking... Oh, fuck. I'm dead. That's Summoner's Pact for 4th mana. And I am deterministically dead here. There's nothing I can do. Cool. Concede. I see how it works. With only one island here, I can't keep this hand. That is not really good either. I can use Abundant Harvest to get my second land. My fetching is a little awkward here. I probably need to keep this just for density of cards. Unearth and Vendetta are both probably bad here. Counterspell's awkward if I get Bayou. I think I'm just going to put back Unearth here. Pretty unlikely to have an impact in the early game, and with his hand, I am concerned about my early game. Could be playing against a Miracles deck with Baubles. Now I don't need to... Mana's really awkward. Like, I could fetch a Triome end of my opponent's turn, not cast anything this turn, or I could Thoughtseize off of some land. I don't think I want to Abundant Harvest now. I think this can get me an Underground Sea, and I can Thoughtseize. Like, it's very awkward, though. You gonna stifle me? They did not stifle me. Well, my opponent's hand did not do anything. I'll take a Force of Negation. Now, my hand also doesn't really do anything, so it's a fair fight. I'm just gonna take the one. Go ahead and cast this here. And Unearth. Oh, I shuffled that back into the deck. Okay, that's legit. I can set this up so that my click dies. That would be cool. Alright. So now we've got a feel for what sort of deck my opponent is. Better than holding up click? Yeah, I think so. I think I want to get this Source to Plowshared and then click killed, and then I can bring it back with Unearth. We haven't drawn a Tainted Pact yet. I haven't gone into the tank to figure out what on earth I'm doing with it. Sure. How would you like to remove... What? Don't want to remove. In Vendetta with Counterspell backup, and I also can hold up, like, Hold Reacher and click. I think I just passed the turn here. That's the ticket. They want just absolute maximum value. That's worth a counterspell. Starting Baleful Strix, yep. Alright, let's try to Vendetta it. Alright, good stuff. Ooh, man, I have so many options. I think I just leave up Hull Breacher. Flash click. I don't think I need to take an action here. And I'll play Unearth maybe on some turn where I have 4 mana. Just bleed myself to death with this waterlogged grove, though. Choose you. Yeah, you can keep those, I guess. Those aren't threats. Those aren't expressive iterations. And my opponent will trade with a Force of Negation here. That's fine. Yep. And I think I'm just going to flip this into play now. Like, I know that it resolves 100% of the time here. Don't think I need to get cute on the timing. And I'll just floop 3 more power into play and try to gun my opponent down. Waterlogged Grove sucks because, like, I'm going to cast this and then I won't be holding up the color of mana that I want to be holding up. But, like, I'm playing with a singleton mana base, so what do you want from me? Yeah, I just want to cycle this one here. And play the tapped Triome. Don't think I'm supposed to try to answer that on their turn. I think I'm just supposed to attack with my Hull Breacher. And I have nice 2 spells available. Yeah. I think I pass priority here. I think I take this trade, despite the fact that I have the Days Undoing. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just don't think I want to play that game of chicken with Monastery Mentor, where, like, when I know they have a counterspell in hand, I fire something off and then let them jump block. I just don't think I want to play that game. I may need to find another threat to close out this game since I let my Hull Breacher die. That's fine. Yep. We'll just chill. I don't want to cast his days on doing this game, if at all possible. Like, I'm very far ahead in terms of resources. That's fine. That's not worth two of my cards. If I can trade the Force of Will 1 for 1, I'd rather do that. I'm going to fight over this, mostly to see if my opponent still has the Force of Negation. Because if they use the Force of Negation here, that means Assassin's Trophy can actually blow up this thing on my turn. And they probably just plus it. Yeah. All right. That's a lot of basic lands. This time they cash it in immediately. I need to draw something that does something. Otherwise, my opponent is just going to like start playing things like Expressive Iteration, and then I will be sad. All right, well, blow up the Sprite Dragon and play Lot Nom's Legacy. Try to turn this into some other card. Definitely feel the punishment for not being a deck that just has like 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponders. Well, that's pretty good. Oh, I don't have... Oh, no, this is black. I do have double black. Hello. I think I just play Leovold this turn. Then we can talk. All right, opponent has a Scalding turn. Then I have a Leovold. All right. So hopefully opponent just like misses this turn. Then I get to kill Teferi. Probably doesn't miss. All right. Like, do I even go for it? I don't think I'm supposed to go for it. I will just lose. Straight up lose. If Thassa's Oracle were to be countered. Yeah, I don't think I go for it. I can do stuff at instant speed again. Alright, deck. Where are you? Opposition Agent is a flash creature that I could just grab right here. That's not crazy. I mean, I guess let's start by casting it. Outcaster? Nah. Nope. 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 Yes. Alright, so let's try to put the opponent to 1, shut off the fetch land. I straight up think I'd play this as a critter. I actually don't know how this trigger works fairly. I'll put Brainstorm on top. And use that to shuffle away this land if the game isn't over. I think my opponent needs to hit some sort of expressive iteration type card. Alright. I like Carpet of Flowers. Plague Engineers, okay versus Monastery Mentor. Electroof technically does things versus Baubles, but that's kind of eh. Don't mind the Veil of Summer. I don't think I need Life from the Loam. I don't know that Stifle is particularly great. I really want to impact the board more than my opponent's hand here. I just like cut some of the lower quality cards and call that good. Like, I don't love him, especially on the draw, but probably fine. My opponent gets stuck with a handful of removal spells again. Something like Liliana is definitely not bad. I could consider that over like him. Yeah, let's try that. Good luck, opponent, in trying to figure out how to sideboard against my commander deck. I mean, I've got Carpet of Flowers, so I'm going to keep this, but like, I am really unhappy with Waterlogged Grove in my opening hand versus a deck with aggressive elements. Now, if the Carpet of Flowers just resolves, then my turn 1 is sick. Waterlogged Grove, Carpet of Flowers, second main phase, Abundant Harvest for a land. He brought a friend. This one casts Counterspell, the other one doesn't. Please resolve, please resolve, please resolve, please resolve. Nice. think I have about the most awkward lands possible here. Plague Engineer. So Counterspell, if I play River of Tears, Counterspell will always be live on my opponent's turn. I'll just ram this out here. Monk. I don't think it matters because I don't think this is sticking around. Like my opponent has bolts and swords. No, not concede game. Wanted to stop yielding. All right. If play to land this turn, add black instead. So let's start here. I don't think I'm playing around days here. I think it's just so much better to get this Triome into play. All right, cool. Now I can start thinking about getting these cycling lands out of here. Oh, another one. Play a land this turn, add black instead. Play a land, add black. We want to just go ahead and play this here. Just see what's going on. Is that worth counterspell? No. That's not worth counterspell. That threat's cool, but it's so important for me to answer like a Sprite Dragon, Mentor, Expressive Iteration that comes off the top. Yep. Rewarded. Start cycling these out. I don't think I get to take out more than one of them right now. Snapcaster Mage. Awkward timing. I think I just go ahead and cash it in for the Abundant Harvest. Tainted Pact. That's cool. We'll use that to great effect next turn. I don't know what we're doing yet, but it'll be good. I totally don't mind Spell Snare, by the way, as something that stops an expressive iteration. We're just gonna go, no, we'll do this second main phase. I don't know what I'm looking for. Burrow? Yeah, sure. Green, blue, either. So as long as this gets green or blue, everything is fine. Trop seems good here. Very awkwardly, this is making black mana right now. Actually, I guess not very awkwardly. Yeah, I guess I've got one brainstorm, so I should just, like, floop this into play. I'll call that a turn. I don't want to cycle Waterlog Grove right now because it's holding up Spell Snare. Alright, crash on in. A bunch of blue in case I have to Spell Snare. Alright, green, green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done? Oh, everything is just working. Great. I can Tainted Pact for Force of Will. Oh. Oh. A Force of Negation will work because I can hardcast that. Now we're doing the Tainted Pact thing. Sure. I think this is my opponent's chance to rip an expressive iteration and, like, hit a Swords of Plowshares off it as well. I think if I untap with the Uro, things are scary. Okay. I mean, that's fine. Like, that can bounce my Uro. I'll kill Teferi. I'll start Uroing again. Play that second main phase. Yes. Blue. Green here. Bring it back. Oh, I can't bring it back yet. Unless I fatal push my own Snapcaster? Crazy. Oh, I could also cycle Waterlogged Grove. That's fine. Do that. Green. Green. 2, 3, 4, 5. What are we doing wrong? Did I not click that one? Okay. Some of those clicks just didn't go through. That's fine. All right. Yeah, so we have some cards that do stuff. These expressive iterations would be very scary, just by the way. Sure, that's clear though. Sure. That's more Uro food for later if it gets removed somehow. I don't need to combo kill with this. This is just one more power. There's a world where I just like force that ponder and that's that, but I don't think that's good. Like I can let them spin their wheels and take out the card that actually matters because there's very few of them. It's basically like Swords of Plowshares, Monastery Mentor, Expressive Iteration. All right, good stuff. We've gotten at least one match win with Tainted Pact. Okay, I'm going to be keeping a pretty average looking opening hand here. Like we have an Unearth that I can't really do anything with other than just cycle right now. I have a Spell Snare that may or may not be good. It's a game where I get to play around Wasteland. I don't have access to basic green mana, and I don't have that many fetch lands. I don't know if I should actually be playing around Wasteland. Played a land this turn instead at black. Does this one count? Kind of a devastating mistake if it doesn't count. I think it does count. Alright, unfortunately, since we have to Fatal Push, our Spell Snare loses out on, like, its best turn. Oh, no it doesn't, Jeskai. I'll just get ported here. I can make land drops, like, basically forever. So this Rashadan Port is not doing that much against me currently. I can still cycle on Earth on my opponent's turn, but isn't great for me. Now I could work towards having all of my basics if I wanted. I don't know if that's correct to do so. Like, I already have one thing that's vulnerable to a wasteland. There's a Rashadan port on the other side of the table. Regardless, I think I'll just play my land and pass the turn. I'll spell snare it. Won't spell snare that. I'm just supposed to let that resolve. I don't think I'm supposed to try to cycle into one of just a couple answers to it. It's more valuable for me to leave open my mana, maybe stop a Spirit of the Labyrinth attack. Nope. Cycle this now. Nice. Take that 3. Okay, my opponent does not have more land. I think I'm going to make myself worst against Wasteland, but just grab a Triome here. Already makes blue. I don't need to think too much about this. Grab green here. Let's clear the board and set up for Toxic Deluge to be disgustingly good. I can get one Brainstorm in with Jace as well. It probably smooths out this hand a lot. Skyclave Apparition would be the card that would be probably most annoying here, but it would give me a win condition. Sure. Oh, I don't mind that. I think I'm okay with 1-for-1ing here and keeping the Toxic Deluge and click available for later. Hymn to Turok seems really good. I think Snare has lost out on a lot of its oomph. I don't think I need click currently. Click's not bad. I think the Tainted Pact is more valuable, though. Now I need an untapped black source. Blue, blue, green, green for Uro. No Bayou? Flooded Strand. Flooded Strand doesn't get Bayou. Right. Alright, so I need black. Let's grab Underground Sea then. What sort of goodies you got for me? Flicker Wisp and Swords to Plowshares. That's fine. Like, I'm so good with this mom, because either it attacks in and deals 1 damage to my Jace, and it's no big deal, or it doesn't tap in, it holds back, it protects something else, and then I get a 2-for-1 with Toxic Deluge. So I think either way, that's fine for me. You got? You don't know this yet, but I only have one stifle. Sure. Now this Toxic Deluge just feels fantastic. All right. This can be blue, black. There's a world where I'm supposed to Fate Seal here. But I think I just want to stay flush with cards. I okay. Put back land, redraw land off Strix. And this get me untapped green without hurting me. Yes. Here's a bio. I'll grab that now. On land. That's also just very good. So in an ideal world, I'll just draw half of a combo. And then I can just Tainted Pact for the other half, and we can just kill our opponent. That's kind of the dream right now. I'll just Tainted Pact now. Nah, it's the same as if I do it in my draw step. Now let's Tainted Pact and figure out what I'm gonna be working with here. Yeah, I'll take the Hull Breacher. The Hull Breacher is fine. I think this is a situation where I just Fate Seal my opponent and see if I can get my combo to resolve next turn with 100% certainty. They shouldn't lose after a draw 7. Hello? Hello? Okay. No, Thalia can stay. Got multiple different ways that I can handle that. Like, I can just Vendetta it, I can bounce the sword, I can bounce it. Ignore it. See if my opponent. Gonna equip it? Otherwise, I just get to Jace bounce it, and I don't even need to, like, think about it. Yeah. I think I'm gonna let that happen. I'll go Petty Theft the Sword. Now I am 1 mana short of Hull Breacher plus Days Undoing. I can just Brainstorm, and then finding a land just does it. I think I'm gonna go with that. Or, and hear me out, or we could just win the game. Alright, that's gonna cost me 1 more. That's fine. No. 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 We're gonna say no a lot of times. Okay, hold on, YouTube. You don't need to watch this. Oh, geez, I drew my whole library. Whatever will we do now? How will we ever win? Nice. Alright, what do we have for death and taxes? Not really much. You, you, actually maybe much, like relative to how many cards are actually in our sideboard. This is a decent number. I do not want Flusterstorm. Stifle is eh. Unearth is eh. Unearth is particularly eh versus like a Swords to Plowshares deck. That can probably go. Some of these slower cantrips can probably go. Most of the rest of this stuff is reasonable. Do I want to keep both Notion Thief and Hull Breacher for the Days Undoing combo? Do I want Force of Negation for sideboard haymakers? I don't think so. Like, the sideboard haymakers are cool and strong and good, but my game plan is so inconsistent and disparate that I probably just don't want to have to pitch cards. I can't do the same thing every single game. I think this looks. I have a Plague Engineer, so I'm going to keep this hand, but I don't really think this hand is anything special in the grand scheme of things. Having the Thassa's Oracle is kind of cool because it means we can work towards a Tainted Pact win later on. Now, notably, I did show my opponent my entire deck if they were paying attention last game. Well, I'm gonna get Wastelanded, that's fine. I think I take the Spirit of Labyrinth here because it's different. A different creature type. And then I can try to get both Mother of Runes and Thalia with the Plague Engineer on turn 4. Give or take a little. My these lands are awkward. So, like, this is gonna come into play tap, this is gonna come into play tapped, and this is gonna hurt me. I don't want my Triome to get wastelanded, so I'm going to sandbag that for a little while. Yep. Okay, we did not get just absolutely bodied by like a Stoneforge Mystic there. Like a Stoneforge Mystic grabbing a Batterskull or something like that would have provided a lot of pressure on my Plague Engineer or forced me to trade it away. One of my opponent's last two cards, Swords to Plowshares. Be a little annoying if it was. Also, am I going to play around Aven Mind Sensor? I don't think I am. I don't think I want to take this damage this turn. Okay. Don't know. I guess that was just a I'm drawing anyway sort of situation. Yeah, that's fine. I also don't know whether or not my opponent will have kept in Swords to Plowshares versus me. A little tricky. It also depends on like how carefully they were paying attention to my deck list, because I do have things like Burrow and Witherbloom Apprentice and Leovold and such in there that would be really nice to take off the table. For sure. I don't even need to kill this. I can play a 1-3. Ooh. I think I'll play a 1-3 and hold up Vendetta. Where the Vial's kind of nice. This game going along. I think I'll go ahead and top this. Good with that for next turn as my play. See if this goes up or stays at 2. It goes up. I just go ahead and wait this out here. Okay. Now that opponent didn't respond to that, I will go ahead and destroy this now. I think that's a situation where if they have a Flicker Wisp, they want that in play purely for pressure. Sure. I think you take the Triome here rather than the thing that can cycle. The Triome is just the thing that gives me my most stable mana. Yep. Yes. That's fine. Play that as soon as I draw another land. Say I'm currently favored, but if my opponent has another port or wasteland, then I think that tide turns. Don't do that, opponent. Do it in the upkeep before I get that extra card. That can be absolutely disastrous. It's not here, but it can be. Just quick shout out to Thassa's Oracle as well for just sitting here and holding the floor. It saved me like 10 points of damage by now. I guess that's not entirely true because I would have just answered with Thalia if it was really a problem. Now my opponent's thinking about something, so that means they've got some play, but it might cause them to like not hold up one of these things anymore. That might be what they're thinking about. The old legend rule. We're gonna see a Batter Skull. Oh, a Sword of Fire and Ice. I think I just want to counter it. I can try to get cute here, but countering it is just good. I don't want to mess around with this for the entirety of the rest of the game. Like, I can get the Thalia out of play by casting Vendetta, but then the sword's there, and then I have to like Brazen Bower bounce it. Let's just permanently answer that. Now, if my opponent ports me this turn, I do get to just kill their Thalia. Yeah, I don't know if that was ideal. I want to cast Eliminate now, save Vendetta, or other way around. It costs me life either way. Vendetta costs me 1 life. Eliminate costs me 1 life. This gets a more expensive card out of my hand. Get the more expensive card out of my hand in case their last card is another Thalia. Is Life from the Loam good here? It looks good. My opponent's been keeping me off of blue, when in reality the green is what I need right now. Yeah, sure. You're gonna name 1, and I'm not gonna care much. Oh, you named 2. That's not a big deal. Yeah. We'll blow that up. Is it better for me to play Sylvan Library or just... I think the draw 3 from Life from the Loam is really good here. Get a tropical island with this. Like Triome, River, Misty. Alright. Draw 3 success. I have Assassin's Trophy as my oh shit button for things going wrong. And the Rishadan port becomes much less scary. I also do technically have, like, Nurturing Peatland cycling plus Life from the Loam. Yep. I probably won't even mess with that this game unless I end up a lot more card advantage than what I have right now. Yeah, stop doing this in my draw step. I think I want to have all 4 mana available this turn. In case I do need to Assassin's Trophy something. I'm not expecting to need to do that, but I want to have the option. Yep. Goodbye, Sylvan Library. Do I just want to answer the vial so I never have to think about it again? No, I don't think I have enough gas to do that. Let's hold this Nurturing Peatland for another turn cycle. Click is good. Kind of. Click. I can potentially do every turn. It kind of makes me want to blow up my opponent's Caracas. I'm going to do it. I can, like, blow up Caracas and then keep Click as my clock. That might be greedy. I'm thinking about this for a second. Okay. I'm going to crash in for my 1 point of damage. I think if I keep the Click, I need to Assassin's Trophy Caracas, and I just don't know that it's worth 2 cards currently. But I can make that decision later, right? I'm not forced into this now. If my opponent bounces it now, it's not that big of a deal because I'll be presented with the same decision every turn. Yes. Go ahead. Go get your piece of equipment. I'll take it. Hopefully leave you with the blank. Okay, so my opponent chose to fail to find. And that's fine. So that means that um, their turn's kind of awkward for them. They really should have just found the piece of equipment, and then the Vendilion Click cycles them into some other card. I think I'm just going to go ahead and cycle this one here. I think I have enough lands that I'm comfortable doing that. Collector Oof is great. Toxic Deluge, not great currently, but can become silly later. Alright, my opponent is opting to just take the damage rather than bounce the click and let me click them again. I don't blame them. See if they bounce here. Nope, they do not bounce here. Yeah, go ahead and port me. I'm good with it. Still good with it. I wonder if my opponent is taking just an unreasonable amount of damage here in order to not bounce my Vendilion Click. I'll just fetch some tapped blue land, probably Breeding Pool. Alright, I don't really want these lands. It's not like they're bad, because they just allow me to ignore Rishadan Port better and better. Still surprised to see no Caracas bounce on Vendilion Click. Like, the damage is damning at this point. I've gotten the GGs from my opponent. They might have forgotten that, like, this is bounceable. Alright, and there's our victory screen. My opponent just wanted to send me some nice words before we went. That was one of the reasons I started playing D&T, so I had one of those aw moments. Alright. What does that make us now? Are we 2-1 now? Alright, this is actually looking pretty good. I've kept kind of an average, maybe medium minus hand. It has some potential combo pieces, then maybe we can find something else to work with it. My mana's going to be awkward this game. Very awkward. I have to get Island on turn 1. Try to get a feel for whether or not my opponent is going to be playing a Wasteland deck. And then go from there. Oh, we're not casting that Hymn to Torok. Don't think I want this land either. Need to start thinking about which one of these cards I would pitch to a Force of Will. Yep, gotta think about it right now. I'll let my opponent brainstorm. Be playing against Storm, could be playing against Doomsday. Flooded Strand for maybe a Trop and play Abundant Harvest on my turn. I can also just play Mystic Sanctuary tapped and not play Abundant Harvest yet. Or I could play Abundant Harvest off of this. And then I can still get black off this later. I think I like that. Still in the library. Not actually really a bad card. And for the record, if I have to Force of Will, I think I pitch the Days Undoing at this stage of the game. My opponent almost certainly won't go off without some sort of discard or protection of some kind, though. So I'm not expecting to just, like, Force of Will a critical card here. Delta shuffles off the Brainstorm. There's the old library. Yep. Fields are down. Please draw a Hate Bear. Like a Leovold. That's good. If I don't die this turn, that's quite strong. I just have Days Undoing Hull Breacher. But I am scared. Yeah. Alright, untapped Black Source. Fucking disgusting. Oh, we are playing against Doomsday, by the way. That's clear now. We could draw on Earth. That would be hilarious. Strix is fine. I don't think I'm supposed to Days Undoing to just reset both of our hands. My opponent's gotten a couple of draws, but I don't know that my disruption is strong enough. I don't know, my hand is abysmal. Maybe I am supposed to Days Undoing. So my opponent got a Doomsday off a Brainstorm or Rex. Life's pretty hard for me. I'm gonna leave open drawing a card off Waterlogged Grove. Get a Bayou here. Get a Bayou here. I don't know. It's very possible that just casting a Days Undoing and, you know, restarting this game is totally fine. Do it. Yeah. I think I'll draw here. Because I would counter this. Alright. Alright, now 46 cards have entered my opponent's exile zone. And all I'm saying is that I have this Days Undoing right here. See? And if my opponent doesn't win the game this turn, I will cast Days Undoing. And then they will hopefully die. Oh god, Stifle? I still just cast the Days Undoing, right? Hmm. This is actually quite interesting now. So my opponent has 2 cards in hand. Oh wait, my opponent's going to be left with 1 card. They have 5 cards in deck, 2 cards in hand. That's 7, plus 1 Doomsday in graveyard. Potentially 1 other Misty in graveyard. So if I Days Undoing, I can muck with their order, but... Huh. Oh, that's super weird. God, I can't just kill them with Days Undoing here. Hmm. Yeah. Alright, I think I pay 4 life. Keep both of these. Oh no, Bayou is not an island, so it's not. I can't put Force of Will on top of my library. Awkward. Yeah, my plan was put Force of Will on top of library, draw a card with Omen of the Seas. And a base. Yeah, this Days Undoing situation is kind of weird. Yeah, that's fine. I'm guessing they built a pile that has a Cavern of Souls. I could, like, actually look. Yeah, at a glance, I don't see Cavern of Souls. How many Force of Wills are there? 1 Force of Will, 2 Force of Will, 3 Force of Will. Okay, so there's a Force of Will in there too. So I need, presumably, another piece of interaction of some kind. That's another piece of interaction of some kind. Yes. Oh, that's another piece of interaction of some kind as well. I really wish I had a 3rd blue mana right now. Can't have it all. But Tainted Pact can find Force of Negation later, among other things. Alright. So 3, 6, 7, 8 still can't kill with Days Undoing. I haven't like sent a card to exile or anything. But this Baleful Strix doesn't kill me. My opponent really shouldn't even be attacking with it. Yep, and they don't. I think I will go ahead and just cast the Tainted Pact. Let's get past those lands that are on top of my deck. Nope. Nope. Opposition Agent. Still probably no, but that's cute. Burden Catacombs, no. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Interesting, but no. Am to Turok. Interesting. Still probably no. Hmm. Go with no. Crop Decay, no. Vendetta, no. Toxic Illusion, no. Burrow, also no. Spell Snare, also no, because I'm expecting Cavern of Souls. Assassin's Trophy, no. Thoughtseize? Thoughtseize is not bad. I'm gonna say no, though. River of Tears, no. Ponder, no. Wither Bloom Apprentice, no. Oh, man, I also could have just, like, used this to try and kill. Inquisition, no. Force of Negation, yes, Force of Negation is fine. That's the sort of card that I was looking for. Yes. Oh god, yeah. That goes on top. I think Click goes on top because I think my blue mana is a limiting factor currently. Tapped land on turn 7. No big deal. Alright. So I have 3 pieces of interaction. I think I win this fight. If I don't, I will have to go back and look and see if I could have like reasonably expected to just like Thassa's Oracle Tainted Pact on my previous turn. And now we fight. Stifle the trigger. You will Force of Will. I will Force of Negation. And do you have another piece of backup? You do not. Okay. Cool. We have for Doomsday. Not a lot. Okay, I think I'm looking at about 6 cards that I want to bring in. We have the super cute Cephalid Coliseum here, which we can use to try and deck our opponent in response to Thassa's Oracle, which is super hilarious. My targeted removal spells are probably my worst cards. Unearth is very slow here. Vendetta eliminates probably fine. It can hit Planeswalkers. Just an instant. Instant. Probably want that gone. Probably keep the Abrupt Decays, Assassin's Trophies. Those can hit Planeswalkers if my opponent is playing them. Toxic Deluge, not great. That gives me 5 of the 6 cards. Just take out card that is least commonly played in Legacy and call it good. I think that's fine. There's also a world where I could justify cutting the Uro because tapping out is spooky. Yeah. Sure. I have 2 different hate bears. I have an Uro. I'll need a 3rd land. My mana's a little awkward in the early game. But I'm not super vulnerable to duress specifically, which is nice. My plan to win this game is the Day's Undoing. And to do that, I need to hit more land drops. Preordain helps me hit more land drops. I think I cast that this turn. There's probably Tropical Island in respect of Uro. I don't think I want this Tainted Pact right now. I know I'm the Tainted Pact deck and everything, but I see myself playing Collector Oof on turn 2. Well, maybe Tainted Pact is my turn 3 play rather than... Yeah, maybe these are fine. Alright, this is turn 1, so I've played my land. Mystic Sanctuary is not my ideal land, by the way. I'm sure that's very clear. I think I just have to take it. Alright. Opponent fetches to clear the brainstorm. Yep. Collector Roof is not the most amazing turn 2 play in the world, but it's what I've got. Opponent probably takes fail? Question mark. Alright. Do I want to hold up Tainted Pact this turn? I don't think so. Like, it's a very good card, but if my opponent has any sort of disruption, they can wait a little while longer, and I'd rather be able to Tainted Pact for something devastating like the Stifle later. And if I am going to just kill my opponent by beating them down, which is somewhat likely with the way this hand is looking, I think I just need to get this card in. Playing the Oof also means that LED based lines are shut off, which is nice. And technically Lotus Petal lines too. But the one LED is very good and allows wins from some of the tap out or close to tap out situations. Okay, so my opponent is on plan B here. They have an Uro. Would be annoying. I'm sure there's some kind of answer to that in my deck. Somewhere. Like, I can kill it. Can't really permanently answer it right now. Alright. With my Notion Thief in the not too distant future, maybe it's not like totally devastating to let them stick an Uro on the table for a turn or two. Like, I can Tainted Pact in response to this thing. And make my plan. Also could just get like Force of Willed. I did also see one Daze my opponent's deck earlier. No, I don't want Creeping Tar Pit. Don't want Breeding Pool. Am I just going to play Notion Thief and draw when my opponent is supposed to draw off Uro? Is that my plan? Or do I want to kill the Uro? I kind of have to decide now. I'm going to put that into my hand. I don't know if it's actually okay to go in on Notion Thief here. But I want to believe. I haven't cast a Notion Thief in a couple of years, I don't think. And if that card takes over a game from an Uro, feels like sweet justice. Another Tainted Pact. I'll use this next Tainted Pact to kill Uro, but I'm going to go ahead and attempt at least to put this into play now. There's that Daze. Rough. Guess that's what I get for not specifically going down to Abrupt Decay. That's okay. I've got time. A lot of time, probably, between, like, just drawing towards Doomsday and Uro on its own just beating me. I could also just play my own Uro straight up. Is that where this turn starts anyway? Maybe that's where this turn starts anyway. Green, green, blue, blue. I already have all my colors correct, so let's just grab a dual land of some kind. Alright, so I will get my own Uro next turn. I can Tainted Pact for a blue card for Force of Negation if things get a little bit weird. Otherwise, I have a Veil of Summer. That can help me buy a turn from discard or something. By playing the Uro, though, I do drop Opposition Agent. I would like to be hexproof. Play a land. Did play a land. Tainted Pact is no longer up. But if they wanted to use a card on the Collector Roof, I should probably protect from it. Yeah, I dropped the Opposition Agent. That's fine. Well, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's not fine. Alright, my opponent has resolved their Doomsday. Unfortunately, they get to draw a card with Uro here, which means they can probably kill me this turn. If they don't, I'll have Tainted Pact into Stifle. Or like Tainted Pact into Force of Negation. Oh, I see. I think that is going to be enough to kill me. Okay. Yup. That's unfortunate. So, like, I was trying to play to beat the Uro that was on board, and then I dropped the Opposition Agent, which would have been good against Doomsday. I don't know that I played that game perfectly. Well, in fact, I know that I didn't. There were lots of other lines and opportunities that I could have taken. All right. So now I know about this Uro pivot plan that my opponent's on. I have a trophy, technically Strix, eliminate plus Tainted Pacts. Relic of Progenitus is also probably okay, just as another cantrip. Yeah, let's maybe play that. How do I feel about Sylvan Library? Pretty good game one. Also have Brazen Borrower to bounce these things. Things like Earl. Seems fine. The Day's Undoing is a little awkward if I draw it without one of these two cards, but I can't have it all. I don't know what I'm supposed to cut if I play this Relic, though. Assassin's Trophy and Eliminator, but I need to keep some number of Uro answers. I have to respect that card. Maybe I just don't do this. Maybe I just try to power through Uro the games it does actually come through. I would like to play first. Keep. Figure out the mana. Underground Sea. Underground Sea seems like a great starting point. You're... we were so much better against a different sort of hand. Like, we were much better against the combo hands than this Uro hand. I guess I just kind of hope that I strand my opponent and then I take over the game. Let's take this Decay so that if I stick a Hate Bear at some point, it's more crippling. I could have taken Uro and, like, Tainted Pact for Surgical to get rid of that, but That feels like it's going a bit deep. Cute. I guess I could have brought in Caracas as well. Or boarded out one land since I boarded in Cephalid Coliseum. I need another land here. These aren't the lands that I need. Despite the fact that this combo is insane. I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle this. Okay, yeah. I am happier with that. I don't think I want to take the best there and force my fetch immediately. Alright. Let's just keep chilling. I might go ahead and cast a Tainted Pact on my opponent's turn, trying to get the Force of Will out of them. Let's fetch. Grab an eye. Let's see what we get. No. Awkward. Those are my combo kills. Surgical. Surgical's not bad. Surgical keeps Uro from being a problem. I think I will go ahead and pick that up. I know my opponent has a force. I'm not just going to slam Jace into that. We'll work towards this end step Notion Thief. That can get forced, and then I can play Jace. Need to fetch first. Tropical Island looks good here. Alright, so they pitch a Preordain. That's fine. I will wait to Surgical until my turn to play around Daze. It'll play into Force Pitch, Force of Negation, pitching some other card, but I'll have Fluster available. Ooh, don't mind that either. Yeah. So I'll Hull Breacher in response. That's a weird one. All right. Very happy with that. So we're up to 3-1. We've already made our money back. With the exception of that round that we just got comboed out on, like turns 1 and 2, we're actually doing really well with this deck. We haven't dropped very many games. Um, so we can get Underground Sea off Misty Rainforest, Ponder, trying to find a black land, because I need a black land to be able to him to Turok on 2. If I miss and find a blue land, that's fine, because I have Counterspell or Strix on 2. I think I am supposed to keep this land, this hand. It's very bad if I miss on the land drop, though. But I do have a good number of lands in the deck. Also not great against Wasteland, which I don't love, but if you've been following along at home, you've probably figured out that the mana base for this deck is not ideal. Drop fine. I think drawing Trop and then Preordain is fine. That way, if I get Wastelanded, I can Trop, Preordain, bottom the Witherbloom, the Apprentice, and go from there. Could be playing against Miracles, playing against the like Jeskai Sprite Dragon Arcade deck, excuse me, that we saw earlier. There are other possibilities as well. I don't get him early. I think I want to Preordain, just bottom the Witherbloom Apprentice, rather than draw it with Strix. Try to get a little bit deeper in the deck. I think hitting the land drop next turn is more important than having exactly what I want in terms of mana development. The nice thing here is that I probably look like a combo deck right now. Just stone cold doing nothing. I will play Draw Go with you, although I wish I was playing him to Turok. But you can't have it all. I'm hoping my opponent like fires off a Brainstorm and I get to play Hull Breacher and we do that song and dance. I like taking this action here. Kind of makes my opponent make some decisions and use cards before my own turn. Whole Hymn to Turok situation is awkward and like can't like hold up Counterspell while also playing Baleful Strix easily here. I think I will still just cast Strix. I don't have a nice instant in the yard yet for Snapcaster. Ooh, does my opponent have an actual factual counterspell that they're thinking about firing off? Black land? Not at all a black land. But Unearth on Strix and Snapcaster is sort of interesting, but my opponent's more likely to have exile-based removal than removal that sends to the graveyard, unfortunately. Alright, do I cycle Unearth? I think I cycle Unearth. It's cute. I don't know that I need cute, though. I think I need hammers. That's a hammer. Well, it's really more of a Swiss Army knife, but you know, you get the idea. I think we're just going to send that in past the turn. I'm not presenting enough pressure that my opponent really has to do anything, which is super awkward. I don't even know that I counterspell if my opponent tries to counter this Tainted Pact. They're not sure what to do about this either. As someone who plays, do I wish to put Inquisition into hand? No. No Omen of the Sea. No Creeping Tarpet. No Toxic Deluge. River of Tears could be black for a turn. But I think no. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Yes, Jace the Mind Sculptor may go to my hand. Not going to cast that immediately. But I'm happy to have it. Alright. Did not exile any of my combo pieces there. Funny card. Very. I'm not sure if I am supposed to cast Hymn to Turok this turn now that I have access to double black. I don't think I do. I think I'm just going to hold up Opposition Agent plus Counterspell. I think that's better. Not because the effect is better, but because using removal on my opponent's turn... Sorry, using cards on my opponent's turn is very good for me. Please fetch. I want to, like, nab something with Opposition Agent. I just Snapcaster Tainted Pact here. Or shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I just Snapcaster Tainted Pact? My opponent fetches. Might just treat Snapcaster Mage as Bush Viper and Opposition Agent them. I think I am supposed to fetch my basic Swamp here prior to doing this. Leave up this. Represent Veil of Summer. Nurturing Peatland. No. No. Notion Thief. Yeah, Notion Thief can go to my hand. Alright, we're just Bug Flash this game. Yeah, I think I hold up Opposition Agent plus Counterspell this turn. I will factual Counterspell that. That's fine. Fetch for me. Fetch for me. He did. Oh. But hopefully we get to Opposition Agent them here. They've already used 2 Swords of Plowshares, so it's pretty likely. Wait, wait? Game is so fucking weird. I think I wait. I'm gonna pay life for this. I just don't want two creatures in play versus a Terminus. I also don't want to be the first one to blink in a lot of these situations. Alright, let's fight. Sure. I might have tapped wrong and not left Vendetta up. Alright, so my opponent does have green mana. Now are they going to let him to Turok resolve? That's the next thing. Force pitching and Uro. Interesting. Sure. My opponent knows that I have this Notion Thief. They also know that I have a Jace. Jace doesn't get killed by Eliminate, unfortunately. I think I go ahead and attack Jace first and then figure out what I'm doing with the rest of the turn. I have to keep Terminus on my mind pretty much constantly. I think I start with an Abundant Harvest for non-land. A Force of Will. Well, I think I play my own Jace with Force back up then. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. Force of Will, pitching Notion Thief. You have another piece of interaction here. You come out very far ahead. God damn. Alright. Unfortunately, I didn't have another blue card. I just have both these black cards, so I had to pitch those. Now my opponent gets to Brainstorm. Again, find an answer to Snapcaster Mage. Or they could even Fate Seal if they don't want to risk that. But if they have a Mystic Sanctuary, they can just like put a Swords of Plowshares on top. Yep. Yup. Opponent obviously playing this game very well. Would have probably beaten a worse player already. We are not playing against a worse player. Right, Tainted Pact's exiled. Tainted Pact exile itself? No. No, I exiled one via Snapcaster Mage. That's why it's there. Alright. Grab a Ponder. So the really terrifying part here is that my opponent could just like brainstorm, find an Uro, and then I'm probably just fucking done. Like I have removal spells in hand, so I don't get killed by the Uro, but like if my opponent has another persistent source of card advantage, I just don't think I can come back. Like this Jace is already devastating, but I could in theory find an Assassin's Trophy and just cleanly answer it, and it's gone forever. But a couple of Jace activations plus, you know, a few extra cards off Uro, and I think I'm done. Alright. Well, I can kill that on my turn at sorcery speed. We'll see if my opponent just like minuses it on abundant growth, takes a card this turn. Yeah, I'm pretty buried here. Like I'm far enough behind that I should really start thinking about conceding for my clock because I am down a little bit. It seems funny to start saying that in game one, but this match is not going to be short. Guess I'll start with this. Oh, those are cards. We're gonna try eliminate on this first. That just opens up me being able to do stuff at instant speed, which is cool. Alright, now we try the card that actually matters. My opponent very well could have counter spells. I wouldn't have probably protected the Teferi in their spot. Protecting the Jace is so much more important. Alright. Sure. My opponent probably doesn't have too many creatures. I'm just gonna tag this thing. Gonna hit me for that same amount anyway. Like, I saw two Planeswalkers pretty early in the game. It feels like my opponent has a lot of filtering. I think I'm just going to junk the 1/1 rather than take like 5 damage from it over the next few turns. Alright. I'll be going for an end step Vendilion click. Yikes, my click is not good against this stuff. I don't know. Now that my opponent has drawn another card, maybe I just go ahead and do it in the draw step. That way I can grab an Uro if my opponent finds one. Alright, fair. That was a fast brainstorm. Am I just not resolving here? That's kind of what it feels like. This kind of feels like a hard cast Force of Will sort of situation. Oh no, it is. Alright. I'll take the Sylvan Library. Don't want them to have that degree of consistency, but this hand is very good. Alright, Flusterstorm probably leaves here. Counterspell is still very good. My opponent shuffles, I'm going to cross out Flusterstorm. No shuffle. Guess I won't. Cut that off. I'll take the 1 here. If I draw a removal spell, I'll fire it off and crash in for 3. Yep. There we go. I don't really think that's worth a counter spell. I think going to 6 is totally fine, and then you hold back the Ice Fang the next turn. Protect that with counter spells. Alright, that's presumably Snapcaster Source to Plowshares on this click. Oh. Just Ponder. I guess my opponent is valuing looking for an Uro pretty highly. Oh, that's also quite good. Alright, so did Narset just whip there? Narset just whipped there. I'll hold this for my own brainstorm. This is the revealed zone. If Narset took, I should have seen it. Yeah, like that. That's quite good. Oh, that's a hell of a bomb. I know my opponent has Counterspell. I'm going to have to trade with that Counterspell at some point, so I think I just go ahead and accept this. My deck's not consistent enough where I can just expect to wait and be able to find answers to my opponent's answers. My opponent can do all sorts of durdling now. I think since my opponent is eating up clock faster than I am in these turns, it's correct for me to not concede until my opponent literally kills me. Oh, baby. Now, I know my opponent does have Counterspell. Oh. Would not like to pay the 2 life. Seeing as my Uro is not coming back. It also doesn't draw me a card because of Narset, but you can't have it all. I was more excited about the body than anything else. I think I'm going to remove my upkeep stop currently. I think that's the game that I'm in. Alright, now I probably can't win. I can probably still get a couple of turn cycles out of my opponents, a couple of Teferi ticks. Catching up on clock matters a lot. I spent a lot of time talking at the beginning before I realized how grindy this game was going to get. Alright, I will cast that. Sure. I don't want to go too deep here, because basically whatever I do can just be counterspelled. Like so. I'm just gonna go ahead and F6 and effectively concede this one. We're gonna end up pretty much even on clock, which is good because I was down a couple of minutes. Alright, I'd like more answers to Planeswalkers if I have any. This Field of the Dead is pretty hot. I like that. Alright, Field of the Dead, Lily. I'll take this for Snake. Is this a Life from the Loam matchup? All Surgical, Relic. I'm gonna board a lot of cards. Maybe this. Boarding. Let's. This is 8 cards already. My stuff's going to exile. Unearth isn't great. I've cut these 2 cards every round. I think I will continue to just do that. I don't love Toxic Deluge, even though it has the potential of more than a 1-for-1. I think I keep the Days Undoing combo. It's a little hard to assemble, but eh. Spell Snare could be a little light on targets. A lot of the things that I care about are 3. Encounter things like Sylvan Library that are quite good. My opponent did a lot of nothing in the early games, and I think I'm just going to junk that accordingly. Probably junk the Vendetta safely. Most of the other stuff that's here is fine. Stifle might be more cute than good. I can probably board out 1 land if I'm boarding in Field of the Dead. Weird as it sounds, I kind of want to board out Mystic Sanctuary. Like, given my mana base, this card is more inconsistent than I would like it to be. Stifle kind of feels like the weak link here. Like, since I'm not going to draw that early because I have a whole bunch of them, I think I'm good with just junking that. And I think conceptually I'm the beatdown here. I think I'm going to keep this hand. Yeah, I know I just said I was the beatdown, but this is a hand that gives me access to my Field of the Dead. And that's something I really, really, really want. Well, I guess actual factual counterspell isn't currently up. I'll attempt to resolve this. And that's fine. See if I start facing down a Planeswalker this turn. I don't. Do I want to Plague Engineer? I think I've... No. My opponent's missed a land drop. I will. I think normally I wouldn't quite go this aggro. Sure, that makes my Brazen Borrower worse. I'm not sure if Brazen Borrower is accordingly Force of Negation food or if I still just keep it around. I think I want it in play. Every lightning bolt I get off on my opponent is definitely worth something. Oh wow, just not even willing to do that in combat. By the way, I know I have Creeping Tar Pit before someone says something in YouTube comments. I know. I don't want to use that. I don't want to open that up to Swords to Plowshares. Now I'm just going to go ahead and trade. I can take that card out of the graveyard immediately. Relic is slowing down my kill speed so much. And by that I mean like the amount of clock that I'm using. Jam? I'll go ahead and jam. The 1-for-1 trades are fine with me. My opponent doesn't seem to have Planeswalkers. If they do have Planeswalkers, I have answers to them. I want to get counterspells out of my opponent's hand so that I can turn on crop rotation later. Crop rotation for Field of the Dead is what is going to allow me to win this game as it goes very, very, very long. I kind of have a lot of do nothing right now. Tainted Pact would be cool. Alright. What's the opponent thinking about? I don't mind that. That takes the pressure off. Arrow. Yep. That happens. Did I board in Bojuka Bog? Did not, right? I did not board in Bojuka Bog. I guess that's fine. Like, I have Arrow covered other ways. I think before my opponent draws another card, I'm going to go ahead and junk Ice Fang. I love Leovold. That's fine. We'll need to keep an eye on the graveyard count. So this is fine. This will be card 3 in graveyard. Oh. This is card 4 in graveyard. This is probably the point where I nuke the relic, because otherwise my opponent can... Now this is 1, 2, 3... No, this is 4. That's still fine. Just have to like be careful that I don't put myself into a situation where my opponent has priority with the ability to cast Arrow. Yeah, so I have to pop it here. That is just how life goes, huh? Alright. I have a lot of interaction and I can't really string together anything that does anything because of like how my deck is built. I am just going to discard this Day's Undoing. I'm not willing to cast this card on current board. That should keep me from having to discard for another turn. Fine. I think this is the point where I attempt Field of the Dead on my opponent's turn. I don't want a Surgical Snapcasters. Should have done it like literally half a second sooner. I will force a negation right back. Yeah, that's all fine then. I actually just want to fetch a triome here. This is the point where I have enough lands where I can just fire this up. Fine if it eats a Source to Plowshares. Sure. A lot of clicks for you. Even though I have a Surgical, I'm going to go ahead and F6. I will frantically un-F6 if I see something that scares me. Need to always yield to that next time it appears. I'm going to just hemorrhage value here, I think. I want to try to get some cards out of my opponent's hand. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Non-land. I will go ahead and cast this now. My opponent's tapped out. Let's just get a feel for where they're at. Jeez. Alright, like the Force of Will. I did this wrong, but I'm not thinking very hard. Ah, shit, I don't like how I did this. I'm not going to pay the life for that. I should have taken a Fluster, Surgical, Force. I'm trying to play good enough to stay alive and also fast enough to not deck out here. A whole nother game beyond this one, potentially, if I were to win this one. Yeah, now I think my opponent just gets to, like, bounce their Ice Fang, draw another card. My counter spells are off from here. Yeah, this is bad shape. Sylvan Library is probably unbeatable here. Good start. Did you really draw a Pyroblast? That's daggers. I expect to see my Strix just get, like, Swords to Plowshare or Pyroblasted or something, and then my opponent crashes in twice and I'm dead. Yeah, my opponent drew card advantage before I did. And my opponent has more copies of card advantage than I do. I'm not surprised that they're pulling ahead as this game goes long. And there's a punish for not extracting the Force of Wills in the way that I talked about. I think my opponent has things very solidly locked up here. And I think they would have if we were both playing tighter as well. Yep, I will go ahead and concede here. I won't make them do out the last few clicks. Good games, opponent. Well played. Overall thoughts on the deck. I always do fine with the Tainted Pact decks because you're just playing a pile of, like, reasonable Magic cards. I don't think the Latnom's Legacy and the Omen of the Sea made the cut, but everything else I was playing here seemed pretty reasonable. So if you were looking to adjust the main deck, I would start with those two cards. I feel like a Narset is a good inclusion because it works well with the Days Undoing and is just another source of card advantage. And then maybe some other source of endgame card advantage would be fine as well. Not sure what that would be off the top of my head. Maybe another Planeswalker. Maybe the Liliana of the Last Hope gets promoted to the main deck. If I was going to play this again, though, the biggest thing I'd want to do is think about the mana base. You have so many options for what you can play, and I'm not sure that the stuff that's here is the best. There's a lot of ETB tapped lands. So there's Creeping Tar Pit, there's Mystic Sanctuary, which is almost always going to enter tapped. There's technically all of the shock lands. Then there's also the Triome. And with all those things put together, a lot of times you can't curve out really well, and something like Hymn to Turok is actually pretty hard to cast. Maybe Hymn shouldn't even be in here, and that should be something that's just easier to cast, like, say, a Collective Brutality. I'm also not sure that you get to play things like Nourishing Peatland. The ability to draw cards is super cool and all, but this deck uses a lot of mana and a lot of different kinds of mana, and I don't know that we're consistent and fast enough to be able to afford those points of life versus decks like Delver. As far as the sideboard goes, for a singleton sideboard, it felt pretty good. I don't know that, like, Wasteland, for example, is maybe strong enough, and maybe you need something else in that slot because, like, how often are you going to find, like, your crop rotation to get the Wasteland plus the Life from the Loam to lock someone out? Like, that's pretty rare, even with a Tainted Pact, that you get your 2 1-ofs. The other card, no, I know what I want in this deck. I want a Sedgemoor Witch in this deck. That card's bananas. and should be in any bug deck that you're playing. And that would also give us another thing to go infinite with Chain of Smog. Our Chain of Smog kind of rotted in our hand that game. Overall, positive impression of the deck though, and this league was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Those sorts of things really help my channel, and have a great rest of the day. I'll be back again tomorrow.